Happy Thanksgiving again. Earlier today, I made a video saying that, hey, the RCMP has actually taken action. Canada has actually taken action against India in response to the assassination or the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who was a Canadian, but he was also like a terrorist over in India who came here to Canada and then died. Well, got killed apparently by India. So now Canada's like, all right, 6 diplomats of India, you're out. Get out of Canada. And now you have Justin Trudeau, who's finally made a response. So Pierre Poilievre, first the punch. He usually is when it comes to this stuff in comparison to Justin Trudeau, and said, okay, yeah, no, we have to really tighten up security here in Canada. Justin Trudeau went pretty much a good portion of the day without a response until he actually addressed reporters in Parliament, which is what we're going to be taking a look at today. But first, we're going to do a bit of a recap of what the RCMP said. So if you've already seen this portion, just skip ahead a little bit to where Justin Trudeau makes his remarks, if that's what you're looking for. But if this is your first video, then all of this is going to make sense if you watch the entire thing. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Hope you're having a great Thanksgiving. And as I said, happy Thanksgiving. And this might be the second time you hear it from me today, but nonetheless, let's just get this show on the road. If you haven't yet already, smash the like button and subscribe. I highly recommend you guys do that. So here was the statements earlier by Pierre Poilievre. The news and allegations today from the RCMP are extremely concerning and must be taken seriously. Any foreign interference from any country, including India, is unacceptable. We expect a full criminal prosecution of anyone and everyone who has threatened, murdered, or otherwise harmed Canadian citizens. And then this is the RCMP's during their investigation. This is the commissioner's response to everything that's happened. And this is very unusual. Canada doesn't usually talk about ongoing investigations. The police don't talk about ongoing investigations, but for some reason, this is an exception.
An extraordinary situation is compelling us to speak about what we have discovered in our multiple ongoing investigations into the involvement of agents of the government of India in serious criminal activity in Canada. It's not our normal process to publicly disclose information about ongoing investigation in an effort to preserve their integrity. However, we feel it is necessary to do so at this time due to the significant threat to public safety in our country. Over the past few years, and more recently, law enforcement agencies in Canada, including the RCMP, have successfully investigated and charged a significant number of individuals for their direct involvement in homicides, extortions, and other criminal acts of violence. In addition, there has been well over a dozen credible and imminent threats to life, which have led to the conduct of duty to warn by law enforcement with members of the South Asian community and specifically members of the pro-Khalistan movement. As a result, in February 2024, the RCMP created a multidisciplinary team to investigate and coordinate efforts to combat this threat. The team has learned a significant amount of information about the breadth and depth of criminal activity orchestrated by agents of the government of India and consequential threats to the safety and security of Canadians and individuals living in Canada. Despite law enforcement's action, the harm has continued, posing a serious threat to our public safety. We reached a point where we felt it was imperative to confront the government of India and inform the public about some very serious findings that have been uncovered through our investigations. There's a violent extremist threat in Canada that Canada and India have been working on over the years. However, these threats are impacting Canada and India's ability to collaborate. Earlier this week, RCMP Deputy Commissioner of Federal Policing made attempts to meet with the Indian law enforcement counterparts to discuss violent extremists occurring in Canada and India and present evidence pertaining to agents of the government of India's involvement in serious criminal activity here in Canada. Unfortunately, these attempts were unsuccessful. Therefore, Deputy Commissioner met with officials of the government of India alongside with the National Security Intelligence Advisor and Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs.
So this has never happened before in Canada. The RCMP does not ever discuss ongoing investigations, and it's almost like they're trying to warn people like, hey, things might get a little crazy because, as you may or may not be aware, there's a lot of Indian people living here in Canada, Canadian Indians or immigrants, however you want to look at it. And tensions have been really on the rise with Canada and India relations, and that has had trickle effects here in Canada amongst our own citizens. And I think that this is just going really, really fast. And Trudeau finally, like I said, addressed the issue. So let's take a look at what he has to say. There he is with Mélanie Joly, the freaking action figure. Oh my goodness. What a joke. All right, here we go, folks.
Of law and the protection of our citizens is paramount. That's why when our law enforcement and intelligence officials began pursuing credible allegations that agents of the government of India were directly involved in the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, on Canadian soil, we responded. As the RCMP Commissioner stated earlier, they have clear and compelling evidence that agents of the government of India have engaged in and continue to engage in activities that pose a significant threat to public safety. This includes clandestine information gathering techniques, coercive behavior targeting South Asian Canadians, and involvement in over a dozen threatening and violent acts, including murder. This is unacceptable. While attempts have been made by the RCMP and national security officials to work with the government of India and Indian law enforcement counterparts on this matter, they have been repeatedly refused. This is why, this weekend, Canadian officials took an extraordinary step. They met with Indian officials to share RCMP evidence which concluded 6 agents of the government of India are persons of interest in criminal activities. And despite repeated requests to the government of India, it has decided not to cooperate. Let me be clear. The evidence brought to light by the RCMP cannot be ignored. It leads to one conclusion. It is necessary to disrupt the criminal activities that continue to pose a threat to public safety in Canada. That is why we acted, because we will always, first and foremost, stand for the rights of Canadians to feel safe and secure in their own country. We will never tolerate the involvement of a foreign government threatening and killing Canadian citizens on Canadian soil, a deeply unacceptable violation of Canada's sovereignty and of international law.
I wonder if this means that we're gonna get the names of the 11 MPs that that have been tied to foreign interference and either foreign election interference. Like, this is crazy, folks. This means that our entire relationship with India is going to be, well, we don't know. We don't know what the hell is going to happen. It's going to be disrupted to some capacity. Absolutely. Right. Canada is in full panic mode. This is not good. Never mind how this makes us look to the rest of the world. How this is for Canadians is not good. And all this is happening under this guy's watch. Are you freaking kidding me? You have actual Indian government officials that have infiltrated Canada where they can pull off murders and get away with it for over a year. And then finally Canada takes action. Like, this is nuts, man. This is crazy. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. This is not a good look. It does not look good. It does not look strong. It shows that we are extremely weak and that our system is broken. And the more important question is, how the hell did this happen? What the hell happened here in Canada for this to be something that's actually taking place?
I know the events of the past year and today's revelations have shaken many Canadians, particularly those in the Indo-Canadian and Sikh community. Many of you are angry, upset, frightened. I get that. This shouldn't happen. Canada and India have a long and storied history rooted in people-to-people ties, business, and trade. But we cannot abide by what we're seeing right now. Canada fully respects the sovereignty and territorial integrity of India, We expect the Indian government to do the same for Canada. As Prime Minister, it is my responsibility to provide reassurance to those who are feeling their safety has been compromised, but most importantly, it is my responsibility to take action and to never hesitate in doing what is necessary to protect Canadians. That is precisely what we are doing today. I'll now turn it over to Minister LeBlanc to provide additional details on these developments. Dominic.
For many Canadians, particularly Indo-Canadians and members of the Sikh community, this news will be understandably very upsetting. The actions that are alleged to have taken place on Canadian soil are indeed a grave violation of our sovereignty and of Canada's rule of law. But I also hope that Canadians find relief in knowing that our law enforcement and national security agencies are working to keep them safe and to hold to account those who seek to harm Canadians. I strongly encourage all Canadians, and in particular leaders in the South Asian and particularly the Sikh communities, to continue to work with law enforcement officials. For generations, people from every corner of the globe have come to Canada seeking a better life, precisely because they felt that the Canadian government would duly fulfill one of our most fundamental duties, to keep them safe. And our law enforcement agencies work every day to uphold that promise. And I once again want to thank the RCMP and their law enforcement partners for their important work in this matter.
I do not think that there is a single person out there that actually respects the Liberal government and has the is under the impression that Canada is a safe place and that Canada is a respected country by other countries around the world. You know, like, this is crazy that this keeps happening. You don't hear about this with other countries. There's no Canadian diplomats that are infiltrating India and murdering, you know, Indians, right? Or Canadian listed terrorists that have fled to India or other countries. Like, this doesn't happen as frequently to other countries as it does to Canada. I feel like we deserve a gold medal for the most incompetent country and incompetent government out there. Like, this doesn't make any sense. We're being walked all over by other people. This should be very infuriating that this has happened by these douche-magooshes right here on screen, where they've allowed this to take place in this great nation. They've stained this country. And if it was somebody else in that spot, if it was the Conservatives, if it was Pierre Poilievre that dropped the ball this freaking hard, you bet your freaking ass that people will be having the exact same response. But just be, I mean, I'm not surprised that it's Justin Trudeau who's dropped this ball. That guy's a freaking terrorist sympathizer. So is Mélanie Joly. And no, I'm not going to apologize, Mr. Speaker, for saying that. You're not going to silence me for 24 hours like you did to the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre. These people are nuts. They are soft on crime. And this is the exact scenario that shows that they are just too soft. And they keep bragging, well, we got them. We got them. Canadians should feel safe because we show that we're able to catch the bad guys, right? We've got them. How about you screen people properly, you monitor people properly from other countries to make sure that it doesn't get to this level, right? It's crazy. It's craziness that this has happened.
Je vais maintenant passer la parole à ma collègue, la ministre des Affaires étrangères, qui pourra vous en dire plus sur les actions que le Canada a prises en réponse à ces conclusions. Alors, Mélanie, à toi la parole.
Everyone has had a straight face this entire time except Mélanie Joly. She's like, yes, I finally get to talk. So and I get to be an action figure.
A year ago, we have three clear priorities when it comes to these incidents targeting Canadian citizens. First, we will seek the truth, that the police force are allowed to carry out their work and hold those responsible to account. Second, of course, to protect Canadian safety, and thirdly, to defend Canada's sovereignty. Based on information provided to Global Affairs Canada by the RCMP, we formally requested that India waive diplomatic immunity for 6 individuals based here in Canada and for India to cooperate in the investigation. This was done so that these individuals could be questioned in relation to the ongoing RCMP investigation into a number of violent incidents targeting members of the South Asian community, particularly the Sikh community, in many cities across the country. And you heard the Minister of Public Safety, my dear colleague and friend Dom Leblanc, mentioning different cities across the country. Regrettably, as India did not agree, and given the ongoing public safety concerns for Canadians, Canada served notices of expulsions to 6 diplomats and consular officials early this morning. Subsequent to those notices, India announced it would withdraw its officials. To be clear, we're not seeking diplomatic confrontation with India, but we will not sit quietly as agents of any country are linked to efforts to threaten, harass, or even kill Canadians, period. Canada is guided by the rule of law. We follow the Vienna Convention at all times, and we expect, of course, India to do the same as well. We will always continue to ask for India's cooperation to the investigation. I did so formally again by being in contact with the Foreign Minister of India, Foreign Minister Jaishankar, earlier today. And I've been also in contact with all my counterparts from the Five Eyes, so Foreign Minister Lamy from the UK, Secretary of State Blinken from the US, Penny Wong, also the Minister of Foreign Affairs from Australia, and Winston Peters, who's the Minister of Foreign Affairs of New Zealand.
Why does she have her collar up? Not to get too caught up in like semantics here or how she's dressed, but I freaking can't stand Melanie Joly. She puts so much effort into her appearance to look like some sort of Canadian action figure. Like, she's got her collar up here unnecessarily. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you're supposed to be professional. I popped a collar on my winter jacket when I'm like trying to look cool. You know, and it certainly doesn't look that way, right? But I don't understand why she's doing this. You're giving a serious press briefing about foreign interference, and you've got your collar popped? I don't get it.
I think it is obvious that the government of India made a fundamental error in thinking that they could
get away with this
in supporting criminal activity against Canadians here on Canadian soil, whether it be murders or extortion or other violent acts. It is absolutely unacceptable for any country, any democracy that upholds the rule of law. That is why we have taken such significant measures, why the RCMP chose to come out today and disrupt the pattern of Indian diplomats collecting through questionable and illegal means information on Canadian citizens that were then fed to criminal organizations that would then take violent actions from extortion to murder against Canadians. No country, particularly not a democracy that upholds the rule of law, can accept this fundamental violation of its sovereignty. Canada fully accepts and respects the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of India. We expect India to do the same. In this case, they did not.
Next question.
Tonda McCharles, Toronto Star. Sir, given the magnitude of the diplomatic disruption that's happened now, I wonder if you can give us some clarity, because while I think I'm trying to read into what you're saying, that these 6 diplomats were sharing information with others. Are those others, the criminal organizations, the so-called agents of India, or are you saying the actual diplomats and consular officials were actively involved in the events? And one other clarity, if you could provide in terms of the time frame you're talking about. Is it over the last 4 weeks? Is it since the last 2 years? Just some clarity on those two things.
As the RCMP Commissioner pointed out this morning, these are ongoing investigations that are already before the courts in some situations and will end up in trials in the coming months in other situations. So what the RCMP can share and the details of this are extremely limited. As those trials unfold, much more will be known. The decision to inform Canadians right now by the RCMP is aimed at keeping Canadians safe, at disrupting this pattern of behavior that these Indian diplomats have been involved in, and ensuring that Canadians can feel safer, knowing that the RCMP is extremely active in these investigations and in following up on these criminal activities.
I'm not, it's kind of double-edged sword because I'm not sure how it makes Canadians feel safer. On one hand, it's nice for a change that we're getting this level of transparency. On the other hand, the fact that it's happened in the first place is like, oh, yeah, no, that sucks, right? That definitely sucks. And that shows to other countries that we can easily be penetrated, right? As Justin Trudeau's cabinet has been penetrated. So I don't know exactly how this makes Canadians feel more safe. Maybe down below in the comments, do you feel safer on this Thanksgiving? Let me know, because I just don't know how that makes any sense. I feel like, in fact, it makes me feel less safe knowing that the government took this long to come to this conclusion, right? Or that the RCMP took this long.
So again, around the diplomatic sort of explosion now we've seen in your relationships, your government's reached out to the Five Eyes allies. What pledge of support have you gotten from each of those? Are they backing you up in these claims? And what repercussions do you expect?
Well, first of all, let's highlight that none of us want to be in this situation. This is not a choice that Canada made to create a chill in Canada-India relations. India is an important democracy, is a country with which we have deep historical people-to-people business ties, at a time where the instability around geopolitics means democracies have to stick together. That is why when we started to understand through intelligence agencies that India was possibly, if not probably, behind Nijjar's killing, the killing of a Canadian on Canadian soil last summer,
killing of a Indian terrorist on Canadian soil?
Our first actions were to reach out, yes, to our Five Eyes partners, but also to the government of India, to say, we know this has happened. Work with us to fix this. We don't want to be having this fight, but obviously, the killing of a Canadian on Canadian soil is not something that we can ignore as a country. So every step of the way, we have apprised India of what we know. I've spoken directly with Prime Minister Modi. We have engaged with intelligence counterparts. And unfortunately, every step of the way, both after I made the statement in the House of Commons last September and till now, the response of the Indian government has been to deny, to obfuscate, to attack me personally and the integrity of the Government of Canada and its officials and its police agencies. And we have simply said, we're going to allow our agencies to do the work, particularly to move from intelligence collection from agencies to police investigations that result in arrests, trials, and consequences within a rigorous and robust and independent judicial system. That has been our approach every step of the way. And indeed, over this past week when the RCMP reached out to its law enforcement counterparts in India, there was a path where we could have worked together to ensure accountability and changes and steps that would have resulted in keeping Canadians safe, because that is our top priority. India, the Indian government, rejected those advances, rejected our attempts to find some way through this. And that brought us to this point of having to disrupt the chain of operations that go from Indian diplomats here in Canada to criminal organizations to direct violent impacts on Canadians right across this country.
Next question.
Wow, that just feels like a massive non-answer. I don't know, man. This accidental freeze frame here of Justin Trudeau's face kind of summarizes everything that's going on. I feel like they're kind of LARPing. They're just putting on a show. The more and more I'm seeing about this, it just feels like it's, they're trying to strengthen their poll numbers, reestablish a little bit of integrity, a little bit of support from Canadians. Hey, we're doing the right thing. Look, we're expelling them. But at the same time, India has said they're recalling their diplomats. So it's impossible right now to know who's right, because the timing of it is just so coincidental. Like it's happened at the exact same time. And, you could definitely say that, well, there was an internal chain that was sent out, the day prior by India saying, hey, we're recalling you. So Canada, no way that today's expulsion announcement had anything to do with the recall yesterday from India or vice versa, right? It just seems so ridiculous the more I'm watching this. Anyways, folks, that's where we're going to end this video. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Some people are saying it's a distraction. Some people are saying it's a nothing burger. Other people, well, I'm saying that I don't think this makes Canada look good by any means. I don't think this makes us look strong. Yes, it's transparent, but through the transparency, one has to ask themselves, how did we get here? Why did it take so long? We appreciate the transparency. It's nice to hear that the RCMP is divulging information that they wouldn't otherwise normally do, but it's a special circumstance. But still, what the hell has happened for us to get here? That's where we're going to end this video. I'd love to know your thoughts and comments down below in the comments. If you haven't yet already, I'd like to encourage you guys to smash the like button and subscribe, and we will see you guys in another video, likely tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of Thanksgiving. Bye for now.